Once iconic features of the prairie landscape, wooden grain elevators have been vanishing over the past few decades. Many lost to fire or demolished due to safety risks. One of the next to go is here in Sharples, a small crossroad about 30 kilometers west of Drumheller. This particular elevator was built by Parrish and Hembecker in the 1920s, taking advantage of a spur-line track added by the Canadian Pacific Railway. When CPR abandoned the line in 1982, the tracks were removed. The Sharple elevator has sat unused ever since. Today, it's owned by Alberta TrailNet, a non-profit that plans to build a multi-use trail along the former train line passing right next to the aging structure.
Our liability is increasing, it's deteriorating, and we need to do something about it.
With an estimated repair cost of about $360,000, Beyonce says the group has no option but to demolish the building.
There are considerable people concerned about that because it is a bit of an icon on the highways around there, and I sympathize with them, but we don't have a purpose for doing it.
The news is difficult for enthusiasts like Dan Overs.
This is one of the more scenic, I think, and photogenic grain elevators, even in its dilapidated state.
Overs has visited and documented more than 100 grain elevators across the Canadian prairies. He says Sharples is a rare, intact example of a traditional wooden elevator, a remnant of a time when harvests were sold, stored, and shipped by rail.
Sharples is really unique because it actually still has a barn, and that barn was used for the care and feeding of the horses that the farmers used for delivering grain to the elevator when it first opened.
With only a fraction of grain elevators remaining, Overs says preserving these pieces of history matters. Archaeologist Peter Dawson is working to do just that. His research team is creating digital twins of at-risk heritage sites, including grain elevators across Alberta and Saskatchewan. And his renderings of Canada's grain elevators are reaching people across the world.
In Europe especially, there's a real interest in the West. It sort of speaks to the fact that what we sort of take for granted in our country as heritage is very sort of unique and interesting to people in other countries and other cultures.
Though it is not possible to save all grain elevators, Dawson hopes his models won't be the only remains of these former prairie sentinels.
It would be a shame to drive across the prairies, in 50 years or 100 years and not see at least a few of these incredibly iconic structures on the prairie landscape.
Nadeer Hashmi, CBC News, Red Deer.